Welcome to PharmaBDI. This is the tool that is used by salespeople, lead generators, and management all alike. And the reason why people are using our system at really large and high rates is because we have the data and we're ensuring that we're making it easy for the users to not only be able to access the data very quickly, but ask for assistance when necessary through our communications link within our system. So right now what I'm doing is showing you our dashboard as you enter our system. And on the left side are some of the buttons that you would typically see in a CRM system. And in the center is the news alerts. So that brings news right to the forefront, and I will show you later how you can customize that for yourself. And on the right side is just a notice of the companies we added this week to the database and the contacts that go along with it. But we also have a lead to sales activity board here that once you start getting leads, it will start populating. So let me show you how you get your system set up. In the settings area here, you have an account settings area, you have a prospect criteria, and news criteria. So let's go into our news criteria first, since that will drive the board here. So let's go in and tell the system what we want to see. And so I think because we're so focused on data management, I'm going to input data management. We can also put in submissions to FDA. You want to use keywords here that will tell our news source leads here, which if you click on, you can see some of the feeds of where we're getting our information from in our system. But this is going to push data not only to you on your dashboard, but also if you'd like, you can enable news emails to come to you. And you can tell our system that you want to see news that comes in on this subject matter, say every 6 hours. And you will see an email come into you, something similar to what's here below, a sample news alert, where we will give you the title of the article, and then down below, any of the contacts you're interested in seeing along with the news alerts, because you might just want to pick up the phone real quick and call somebody after you see a news alert. So we might want to say here that we want to see data management people listed on our news. We might want to also see programming people, and we might want to see biometrics folks here. We might also want to see the CEO. I think it's Chief Executive Officer. And you might want to see the clinical operations folks. Okay, so once you have that all saved, you'll be getting your news alerts first of all, and we should see information pouring into your dashboard. So the other areas that you can fill out to get started in our system is the account setup. It's already populated for me, as I can see here. It's also telling me that if I had purchased a subscription for purchase of data for which you can download out of our system, it would show you here what would be the amount of credits you can get. Okay, so I'm just going, the default is 50. If you were on a purchasing plan, you would be able to get that ability to download data from our system. We can talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. You can say that you want email and mobile alerts to your mobile phone. So if you had put your mobile phone in here, you can get, if I want to send my follow-up notices that I mark in the system to my mobile phone, that'll happen. I can also send follow-ups to my email account and send relevant news and contacts to email. Okay, so that kind of sets me up here. We have an organizational chart setting area. We're still working on that. You can also set up your territories. Right now I'm US wide, so I'm going to leave my territories to, let's see, I could probably just tell the system and to select some of these areas here that I want, but I'm going to leave it open for right now, but you can pick the areas you want uh, for your system to be strategically set for that, okay? We also have an area called prospect criteria. Now, this is an interesting area here because behind this wall, we have 500,000 contacts. Now, you don't want to always be kind of searching through by putting in just some queries. You know, as a lead generator, fast-paced kind of person that you might be, you may say, you know, I want to go right to my contacts that I want to pursue each day that I get on. And this priority criteria area gives you a chance to set up certain listings of companies for which we provide a very fast work queue for you to go to. And these work queues over here, which I'm going to show you shortly, will populate with the specific kind of people you're looking for. Okay, so we will come back and fill this out in just a little bit, and I'll show you more about how to use that. In our system, people will use it in one of two ways: a casual user or a 24/7 lead generator that's on fire. So if you happen to be just a casual user, you would probably just be frequenting our prospect search or our company search. So let's go to company search. Company search, you can put in any company and search for it, and down below you'll get the company and their locations, whether they're a parent or a child. The information you'll get are also the number of prospects that we have in our system for each branch of the company. It'll tell you the clinical trials and then specialties. So you can click here and see all the specialties as well as revenue and number of people in the company. Okay? So this is good if you just want to quickly look up a company, and basically every company in our database does have its own profile sheet that you can see information about the company. You can click here and see all the contacts. You can also learn about the revenue from here too, the specialties, and any annotations will be on this page that you may have had, interactions you may have had with other people in the company, and it would show other company locations just right down here, you would see. Okay, so this is for people who want to know about the company. They may want to click on their clinical trials. They may want to see the company news. I use this often when I'm getting ready to get on a call with someone and I want to know, what am I talking about therapeutically? Was there anything that happened recently that I should know about? So, you know, you see interim results here for a phase 1 study. So if I happen to be talking and they mentioned it, I'm aware of it. Okay, now you might be still a casual user, but you want to find out a little bit more information. So in this case, what you would do is, let's clear out our basic search. Let's go to the advanced search. Now in this search here, you want to put in, say, I'm looking for companies that are focused on neurology. Okay, and I'm going to do neurology. I want to know what companies are in the database focused on that, and I only want to stay in the United States. And you know, if you were traveling, say for example, on a trip, and you only want to look for companies within a zip code so you can tack on more meetings to your trip, you can do that here as well. You can also do it by revenue or number of employees. I'm just going to stick with the CNS, with that particular therapeutic area now, and I'm going to do a search. And what we'll have is a chance for educating ourselves on what companies are in the CNS space, okay? And it, again, gives you information about the prospects, the therapeutic areas, the specialties, and their clinical trials. So that'll give you a little bit more information. This approach also works similarly when you are working on prospects. So if you hop over to the prospect screen, again, you can say, you know, I'm just looking for Susan Walsh. I just want to talk to Susan. And you can see that there's a Susan Walsh, myself, and then a project leadership, somebody who's a HR at this particular company. So if you were to click on to the profile of the person, similar to the company, you also get it for the prospect. And you get a bunch of information here. You get their primary email, secondary email, whatever we have and our researchers can find, we put that in there. If a do not contact flag comes up, it means, you know, this is an alert to any people that are using our system that, hey, do not contact this person because based on annotations or other information, you don't want to reach out to them. Another salesperson might be reaching out to them. It might be already a client, a number of reasons. And again, from the prospect's perspective, you can very easily go into the LinkedIn queue for this person and look up that person very easily, okay? And you also have the ability to see, again, the clinical trials for the companies or the company news that might be out on this person. That's similar to the company news. The great thing about the system here too is that we have two functions. You can do your annotations here, and you can also do your sales tracking. So for companies who don't want to use those expansive CRM systems that make you load your own data, or you're just not there for the big Salesforce guys because you don't want to spend money on all that customization, we have the ability to offer you to put in any sales opportunities that you might have. And what's nice here is that you can create your own sales stages and your solutions to kind of go along with your own processes in the company. So why don't I just go ahead and just really quickly show you how easy that is. Over here in your sales tracking, this is where you're adding in your solutions. So you might want to add in data management, and you can add the item. And later on, the reason why there's a business area here is when you do your sales reporting outputs, you can actually break it down by functional area. We can do some SaaS programmer, okay? And we can put in some biostatistics. And so you're creating your own menu of solutions, and we can separate it as much as you want. You might want to do medical writing. Okay? And then you can also do your stages. And your stages can be, you actually can have it as a lead. Okay. And we can just add that here. You can have it as a meeting. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to make this a 1. Sorry. Okay. And then you might want to say RFP can be in order for number 3. And again, this is just based on, I'm really messing this up. It should be 2. Okay. And then you can go to a negotiations. Let's make sure we get the right number on this one. Whoops. Okay. And then close. Okay, and then it's a one-time setup, okay? But at least now that we have these in here, if we were to, say, want to go back to where we were talking to someone, we can now go into the sales tracking area, and we can actually add in through the drop-down the ability. And it really does provide a really nice report later on. And the same thing with annotations. The annotations is all about bringing this up to the fact that did you call, email someone? What's your next, what was the action result? If I happen to do a LinkedIn message to them, did I send the message, request a connection? Is it a lead already? And it just allows you to describe whether this is a soft or a hard lead. And this is all for the user of the system to help manage their processes within their own head, within their own company, so that they can bring a lot of the activity to a close. So a lot of nice functionality here for the user. Now, if you were working on this particular person and you decided you saw something that was wrong here, you can just very easily request our system to change it. We just have a good QC department that we QC before we let people make changes to our system. So that's a nice way. And there's also a communications link here that you can ideas or a support ticket or a campaign request, or you just wanted to see the status of your tickets that you put in. That could be done as well. Okay. So I was showing you just now how to very easily look up people individually or companies individually. There's a whole work process that we can share with you, or you may have your own ideas on, how often you follow up back with someone. But it really works very nicely for keeping track of knowing what was the activity that has taken place in the last week. So there's reports that you can pull of, how many meetings, leads, calls made, just a good productivity review here. And also the sales tracking. You can do all your opens, the closed, and from what date to what date. You can, display it on the screen, and I'm going to show you one that's already completed in a little bit. So that's the features here. Again, just from the very light perspective. Earlier, I mentioned to you that if you are a high-powered lead generator salesperson, you can use the prospect criteria sheet here. And what that does is you are selecting yourself here because you want to, you just want to maybe have we always have a default category of where your system can be. This area here allows you to be a high-powered user of the system and allows you to create lists of contacts that you're interested in pursuing. So we might just have a default listing here, and I was supposed to hit new first and then say default. Okay, I'm going to save. Now, the reason why you have a default is because you may have some special listings you want to create later. But as my default, I may just say, you know what, I don't want to put any target companies in here because I don't really know who I want to pursue just yet, but I do know I want to go after data managers. Okay, and I might want to go after clinical operations people. So I know the titles of the people I want to go after, and I know I really right now want to stay in the United States, okay? And so for my default, when my default is in place, I'll always be looking for data managers and clinical operations people in the United States. And I'm going to leave the therapeutic area open because I want to go after anybody I want to go after. The phase trials, to be honest with you, we are pulling this from clin trials. So if I really wanted to look up and just stay in an area of folks that are reported to be in phase 2 or phase 3, I could put that in here, but I'm just going to leave it open. I know the companies well enough. Then the priority prospect queue. This is where I'm telling the system, listen, at any given time, I want to see, say, five people from each company with these titles to start with, okay? And so that's me setting up my default. So I'm going to save and activate that. Now, what does that do for me? Okay, so what that's doing for me is when I hop on, as long as I keep this in the default and I go and want to use my queues, I can actually start to prospect by saying, I don't have any target companies, but I do have priority because I filled out my priority criteria with the United States and these contacts. And so what I'm going to do is just go into my all priority prospect tab. And that is what this is doing, is pulling all the appropriate contacts from the 500,000 contacts I have in my system. And it's going to pull it into this queue for me so that I can work within this queue to do my rapid calls to various companies. Now, I may not want to see any sort of institutes, right? So I start to teach my machine how to modify and use the system to exclude certain things. So I could go back into my settings here, and I can go to my prospect criteria, and I can start to teach it what I don't want to see. Okay, so I'm going to select my profile, my default, and I want to save and activate that here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to tell it to exclude companies. And what I want to do is I want to copy that one. Okay, but this one I'm going to call my targets. I'm going to save and activate this one. Okay, so now I have my targets and my default. But my targets was a copy because I just want to do some minor tweaking to it and use it. So let's do that. Okay, so I know I want all this the same, right? But the thing I want to do now is I want to, I don't really need to do that, do I? I can basically do my defaults, and I can come in and just add my Apellis, I can Akebia, I can add in CSL Behring, okay, I could Biohaven, okay. Okay, so now that I have my targets here, I've added my targets in, I can save and activate, and you get a 2-in-1. Because what I've just done is I have created something where I can have a very free-flowing work queue with no targets, and that's, I go and look at my priority queue, okay? That's where I get everything except things that I have in my target list, which are going to be in here. So I kind of like to work through my targets, get those focused, and then hop down to my priorities. Now, as I go into my priority area, I might start looking at companies and contacts in here and say, oh, I want to make that actually a target for me. And that's how that all works.